Thanks for joining us on our virtual tour of the Western Lake Superior Sanitary District's WLSSD solid waste facilities. Each of these facilities provides services that keep our communities safe and clean. Waste sorts tell us that about 19% of the trash in our area is actually food waste. WLSSD works to combat wasted food by harvesting the leftovers and turning it into premium compost at our yard waste compost site. When organic materials like food, grass, leaves, and sticks are buried in a landfill, they break down very, very slowly under oxygen-free conditions. This produces methane gas, a potent greenhouse gas that contributes to global climate change. Instead, WLSSD keeps these valuable materials above ground in the fresh air, making compost year-round at the yard waste compost site, located just down the hill from the transfer station. Residents and businesses bring leaves, grass, branches, and other yard debris to the site for disposal spring through late fall. WLSSD stores material on site for composting throughout the year and sells finished garden green compost in bags and in bulk by the cubic yard. Stored waste is mixed with food scraps by our site operator every day. Food waste is separated at its source by the generator, whether a grocery store, restaurant, or institution like a college or a hospital. WLSSD passed an ordinance in 2006 requiring businesses that create a large amount of food scraps to divert them to beneficial reuse. The best choice to reuse edible food is to make it available to people to eat again. In our community, Second Harvest Food Bank operates a food rescue program, as do several local homeless shelters. When food rescue for people isn't an option, licensed animal feeding operations are a good second choice. For food that can't be diverted to either of these uses, typically because it is no longer fit for consumption or logistically it just can't make it to the right place at the right time, it comes to us for composting. Private haulers deliver food waste to the compost site tip pad during the first half of the day. The site operator inspects the food for large amounts of trash or recycling. If obvious and intact contaminants are found, they are removed by hand with shovels or rakes. Our staff uses a loader to lift food and bring it over to the mixing area where it is spread out over a bed of wood chips. WLSSD can accept any material that is or was edible, including fruits and vegetables, meats and fish, dairy products, bones, rotten grain, and nearly any other byproducts created in the kitchen or by the food industry. All told, WLSSD receives about 3,800 tons of food waste each year at the compost site. The operator uses a special computerized recipe to determine the best ratio of food, which supplies needed nitrogen to the process, to other carbon sources, typically leaves. The recipe aims to provide just the right mix so that the microbes that live in these materials can begin to decompose them quickly. Leaves and wood chips are added to the food. The recipe is mixed using the loader bucket or a specialized mixing machine that helps to tear apart compostable bags and mash up larger pieces of food. A well-mixed pile is crucial to distribute the carbon and nitrogen evenly throughout the pile and ensure particles of different sizes, textures, and properties are mixed in throughout. Sometimes the recipe comes out a bit dry and the site operator needs to add a bit of water. The operator uses a jumbo water spigot to fill the loader bucket and carefully quenches the thirsty pile. Mixed material is quickly deposited into a windrow. WLSSD operates static aerated piles placed closely side by side along the length of the large concrete slab that lines the whole site. The slab is slightly sloped so that all water drains to a leachate pond, where it is collected and pumped to the wastewater treatment plant. The closely nested piles work well at this site, minimizing the open surfaces where resident birds perch, picking and tearing at the piles, and also seems to minimize material loss from high winds while keeping the piles tidy and warm in the coldest winter. Each windrow is built atop a plenum or a mound of wood chips that supports a perforated PVC pipe. Wood chips are placed atop the pipe as well so that the composting materials don't clog up the small holes. Air pumps push fresh air through the windrows daily for about 6 to 8 weeks of active composting. Composting is a simple and magnificent process where living organisms, including bacteria and fungi, decompose material over time. They only require a few things: adequate moisture, air circulation, and a great mix of carbon and nitrogen. When everything is present, it takes less than 24 hours for the pile to heat up to composting temperatures between 131 and 165 degrees Fahrenheit. WLSSD adheres to state and industry requirements for PFRP, or the Process for Reduction of Pathogens, ensuring that pathogens and weed seeds are killed or inactivated by the high temperatures for an extended period of time. The site operator tends to the piles daily, monitoring and recording pile temperatures and observing the decomposition process. As the piles break down, they slowly lose volume as materials are gobbled up and transformed into compost. After the active composting period on air, the piles further cure in windrows for a few more months. The site operator will turn the material periodically to keep air flowing through the pile, and eventually the cured compost is moved again to complete its curing in large mounds while awaiting screening. The final stage of the process occurs when cured material is screened. WLSSD operates a 3-stream screening process. The compost pile is divided by particle size into finished compost, the overs or chunky material that is not fully composted, and the contaminants pile. Of the entire volume of the pile, about 70% is finished compost that can be sold and used locally. Another 20% are the overs, or the materials that are still destined to compost in our process but just need more time. The overs are larger chunks of wood, bone that isn't yet broken down, or super durable bits like coconut husks or tough pits. The overs are used in the daily mix as carbon and can also be used as covering for the piles themselves to keep odors down and birds at bay. Lastly, about 10% of the pile is trash, items that made it into the collection bin at a restaurant or a store but aren't compostable. Plastic straws, condiment cups and tableware, and non-compostable plastic food packaging or even beverage containers are the most common trash items unintentionally delivered to the compost site. They wind up being delivered to the landfill. Garden Green Compost is a premium, high-quality soil amendment that helps soils come alive. Compost offers organic matter that lets heavy soils breathe and drain, and light, sandy soils retain moisture and nutrients. Compost is a great way to harvest leftovers and create something great. Thanks for joining us on this virtual tour of WLSSD solid waste facilities. It takes everyone working together to do the right thing to protect our communities. We're glad we can help. Learn more at WLSSD.com.